know a little bit about Fur. Fur Whale is an international keynote speaker. She's a writer and a best-selling author who also runs trainings, events, and co-authorship for women. Dedicated to creating fearless female leaders through the power of public speaking, mindset, and primal wisdom. Repowering women with the knowledge that they were confident. Their confidence is personal and they are captivating by default. She talks, which is Fur's business, trainings deliver a transformational experience that empowers women to create clear, powerful message that they know will land, whether it's with a large audience or just that one important person. She Talks is creating new benchmarks in the field of public speaking and speaking events, the future of feminine leadership and women's networks. And this is what really goes into success that lasts. Once women possess an unshakable foundation, no longer having to wrestle with nerves, invalidation or imposter syndrome, they are captivating performers who get to revel in delivering their message.
Oh, Rose, thank you. Great to be with you today.
And you. It's lovely to see you. I haven't seen you for a couple of months.
I know, and we're in lovely complementary colours, blue and pink, my favourite colours, so it's lovely to see. You know what? Our confidence really is something very personal to each of us, and it's something that it's not a conversation that's out there. And what do I mean by confidence is personal, and why is it important? Well, you know, we have this idea about a generic kind of confidence, and it's supposed to be outgoing. We project our voice, we look this certain kind of professionalism. And what that can do, and I know because this is my experience, and it's certainly my experience with participants who've come through my platform, is that leaves us thinking that if we're not that, then we're not confident. If we're not that, then we're not professional. So this kind of cookie cutter, generic idea about what it looks like to be confident has to just be thrown in the bin. It has to just leave because it's not serving us. I have a question for the listeners, and that is, have you ever gotten up to speak and felt, well, actually gotten up to speak as the expert and felt nervous and felt like you didn't really do a great job because you know about what you were thinking, you had those nerves inside, and yeah, me too. But no one really can tell a whole lot, but because we know that we were nervous, we struggle with accepting that we did a good job, and we struggle to take on praise, which is not a great place to be in. And I want to ask, what did you do to try and change that? Maybe for many people, they've taken on public speaking, generic kind of public speaking, where we're taught where to move, where to look, and how to act, pretend to be confident. And unfortunately, this leaves us with imposter syndrome because our authenticity doesn't have a place in pretending to be confident. We're essentially acting to be someone else. We're acting out a role. And this leaves us with not only imposter syndrome, you've come to get rid of those nerves and perhaps even fear of public speaking. And what I've noticed, and this was my story, is I actually ended up afraid of public speaking when I wasn't, because I'm acting, and I just kept thinking, people are going to catch me out. They're going to catch out that I'm not really this. Rather than getting up in front of an audience, being authentic and accepting that you may look a little nervous. However, what you get to know yourself as is someone who is accepted, someone who can take risks, someone who can make it happen. And you get to realize that with each invitation that you accept to speak, you evolve and you transform into that great speaker that you know that you can be. So maybe fear is running the show for you, or nerves, and that is just not an enjoyable way to do public speaking. And to evolve that, what do we need to do? Well, one, we need to practice public speaking. There is nothing in comparison to a real lived experience of getting up to do speaking. It wires us, it prepares us, and like I said, it allows us to know ourselves as the person who can step into those places. And I have an acronym for fear, and I might leave that for now. I think I might close with that. So we want to be not any kind of speaker, and we don't want to be that kind of speaker that we've been told to be. We want to be authentically us. So that is, of course, going to take practice. It takes practice to being authentic. I mean, I know we're sort of like, oh, but I am authentic. I'm just being me. But if you have a look at the narratives that you're running when you get up to speak, you might actually realize that you're not quite bringing all of authentic you to the forefront. You may realize that you are actually faking it a little bit. So when I started public speaking, I could not tell anyone that I had this fear of public speaking because I'd already started as a speaker. I was meant to look like a professional, and that trapped me with feelings of, what if someone realizes? What if someone finds out? What if they discover that I'm faking it? And so I would see perhaps someone, just thinking, and their eyes would go up, and I would assume that they were rolling their eyes at me because they knew. They knew that I was faking it. They knew that I was not really who I was presenting myself to be. So if you can relate to this, know that from that mindset, you are not able to truly inspire or truly transform your audiences. And that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to just be a good speaker or give a nice speech. I wanted to truly reach into the hearts and the minds of every single listener, to inspire them, to transform them. And to do that, we have to be willing to be vulnerable and to let ourselves be truly okay with the discomfort of looking nervous, feeling nervous, and knowing that we're not going to fall apart, that no one's going to throw tomatoes at us or boo us off the stage, and we're not going to die from getting up to speak and looking nervous. So new speakers are being created all the time, every day, through this generic way, and it's a real band-aid approach to get up to fake speaking. It can leave you with, there is a little bit of that leaves you feeling better, because at least you feel like your audience doesn't know that you're nervous, and so you kind of feel like you've pulled it off. There is that, but for centuries we've had public speaking training, and it hasn't done anything to disappear fear. So why are we still having to disappear fear? Because the trainings don't work. So let's start from, you can't doubt your ability to be a great speaker because you have been given the wrong tools. You cannot doubt your ability to be confident just because your confidence feels like it's missing. Of course it's missing in those situations. If you're not feeling confident in a new situation, know that, or if you're not feeling adequately prepared, know that that's because you've been using the wrong tools, the wrong strategy, the wrong approach for you. And even though when we're authentic, there's that vulnerability and we feel nervous, those things don't seem to matter. They take the back seat because this other part of us is saying, I've got this. You see, when you're faking it, what happens is you trigger your survival mode. And that survival mode, when you're up talking, feels more pronounced, and your confidence feels like it's nowhere in sight. But when you're accepting that you're going to be authentic, that you're going to be comfortable with the discomfort of getting up to speak, that you might look nervous, because it is inevitable that when we're in new spaces, when we're starting out, that we might not be great, that we might doubt ourselves, that we might fail at delivering the best talk, but knowing that it is inevitable with each time we practice that we are on the road to becoming a great speaker. When we have that as our mindset, now our survival mode doesn't need to be on alert. Now we know that we've got it. And now being nervous, having feelings of nerves in the body and the mind don't really seem to matter quite so much. So that is really the place that we start. That's where we start. We start with being authentic. We start with knowing that it's inevitable, that it might not be so great to start with. However, with practice, that we will indeed become great. You can't doubt your ability to be a great speaker because you haven't been in that situation before. It's new. You're adapting. Let yourself adapt. While adapting to a new situation, you get to actually access another part of your brain. So if you're not in survival mode, what are you accessing? Yeah, of course. You're accessing your higher intelligence centers, your wise mind, your information. Now you're tapping into your powerful source, and you're not shut down and limited by worrying about trying to look like you have it all together and look like a professional. Throw looking like a professional out the window. That should not be your main priority. You will in fact look like a professional when you're relaxed. You will in fact look like a professional when you're able to deliver your content with passion and drive and clarity. So take this on. This is the starting place, because confidence is always there with you. I have my confidence t-shirt on today. Confidence is in fact inbuilt. It's always there with you. If you ever think that you don't have confidence or you feel like your confidence is waning, just shift any unresourceful thinking out of the way. Stop engaging it. Stop entertaining it. And know that you were born confident, and that your confidence is personal. That if you're quiet and softly spoken, which I often am, you can get a microphone. People can come closer. People will learn to listen to you. That is still you being confident. Confidence is personal. It comes in so many different varieties, and it can change from day to day. So remind yourself, you were born confident, and protect your confidence. Protect it. Don't let anything come in the way of that beautiful confidence of yours. So all of that, what might go wrong, move it out the way. All of that, what's possible for me, what I can and can't do, what I should and shouldn't do, move all of that out of the way. There's nothing as important as getting up to speak as yourself before you're completely ready. Yes, I just said before you're completely ready. As yourself before you're completely ready. Why? Because that is how you train yourself to not be afraid of public speaking. Your whole nervous system, your whole mindset will get wired to know yourself as someone who faces everything and risks. Faces everything and risks. That's the acronym, FEAR. Faces everything and risks. When we come face to face with it, suddenly we realize it's not some big, hairy, scary monster that's going to gobble us up. Suddenly we have the tools to manage it. We know what to do because we know what we're dealing with. And we also get to tell ourselves it's inevitable. I've stepped in, I'm in the arena, I'm in the mud. I'm not in the stands as an onlooker. I'm not telling myself, I know I can do this, but you're not doing it. You're actually on the floor, on the ground, in the arena, doing the work. How powerful is that? How empowering is that? You don't even have to have it all right. Even a perfectionist will feel the glory in that. So nothing can perfectly replicate a real lived experience. So take those bigger opportunities. Now, you might not want to be public speaker, but you will need to speak to promote your business. So know that I had to practice to be where I am. We all must practice to get to those places that we want to go. Putting yourself authentically in front of an audience is when we transform that, do I really have what it takes? That's when we transform, who am I to get up and speak like the expert? That's when we transform that anxiousness, those nerves, and that fear of public speaking. So face everything and risk. Take this on, write it down. Facing everything and risking the inevitable, that you might not be great to start with, that you have what it takes and you will eventually become great. So may you always powerfully speak, hear, empower, and transform your listeners and yourself. This is where we start. Thank you, Rose. I've loved being here. I don't know how long I've spoken for, but that's it. That's what I've given.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful. Yes, and public speaking is not one of my things. So, yeah, that was very helpful. And, yeah, you're right about the training. There's so much training out there, you know, I know the hand gestures, you know, you need to have those. You need to have a certain amount of body language.
I'm gonna jump in and say something there, which is, and this is, I know 100% for myself and through the 4,000 participants who've gone through my training, you don't need to learn any gestures whatsoever. None. I know that sounds radical and contradictory, but here's the thing. This is why I say in my bio that I am founded in primal wisdom. Primal wisdom is that innate knowledge and wisdom that we carry within us. When we start from the place of not learning, gesturing, when we start from the place of bringing authentic presence forward, what happens is you watch when you just have the instruction of, when you get up to speak, one of the criteria is that you are authentically present and you use your gestures. We naturally gesture. We naturally do that to highlight what we're saying. And then we don't get these cookie cutter gestures. And then, Rose, this is what happens. Each speaker becomes unique and highly captivating, extremely captivating, because now we're in their world. Now we can really feel their intention. There's a real, in human behavior, which I've studied, there's a real disconnect when we use other people's gestures. When I first learned public speaking, it was this. We had to do this. And it just, for me, that looks ridiculous to do that because it's not my gesture. There's a incongruence there. And so when people watch, they can say, oh, there's a professional speaker. She's trained, but they're not getting that. I don't know what it is, but I just couldn't take my eyes off her. I don't know what it is, but there's something, I just really believe that talk. When we're left to our own devices and we're encouraged to bring those things forward, we naturally gesture in a way that is really powerful. So there's no need to learn. Oh, and also, you know, this whole thing about, if you wanted to know that you've moved from Australia to Sydney, you've got to move across the stage and let people know, I was in Melbourne, now I'm in Sydney. We don't need to learn that either, because what happens is we do that naturally. We move around and indicate that naturally. And what happens is, instead of having to remember, here's where I need to gesture here, here's where I need to move there, then I've got to remember my talk and I've got to try and act confident, which leaves people more nervous. I have public speakers who've gone through big name trainings here in Melbourne and training in America, and they've come to me because they have imposter syndrome. They are still nervous. And some of them are like, I wasn't afraid of public speaking before, but I am now. I don't get it. Because they've got all these elements that they're supposed to remember in order to be great. And they're nowhere in sight. And so their mind is doing two things: remembering their talk, trying to connect with the audience, and trying to do all of these elements, the gesturing, where to look, how to speak, how to get the tone right, the cadence. And if they just were themselves, all of those things happen authentically, organically, naturally. honestly, I have seen so many women who've gone from being an average speaker to getting on the TEDx stage and just totally captivating audiences. There's nothing beats authenticity. It's captivating by default. So
Absolutely, that's why I don't like having to learn to, move your hands to this, and the if you go to the right, then you've got to go to the left, and I don't like any of that because I gesture. I use my hands all the time, and to me, it's what I do. And if I have to think about other things, maybe that's why I don't like public speaking so much, is because I can't. You're taught not to be yourself, but they say be yourself. How can you concentrate on all this?
It's incongruent. It's a contradiction. Look, if you think about children, right? Think about yourself as a child, or if you have children in your life, think about children. Watching children, they have inbuilt confidence. You know that they're not afraid of going up to strangers and speaking. They're not afraid of speaking in front of an audience of people. I saw a child once at a party that I went to with my family, and this kid's like, oh, I got this new toy and I want to show off my new toy. And they were looking for the people that they knew, but they weren't in the room at that point. So that child just went to everyone in the room and said, have you seen my toy? Like, I want to show you my toy. Kids don't have that fear. We adopt it. We're trained to be fearful in life, If you think about school, when you had to get up to speak, there was never an issue with that until we were going to get marks on delivering a paper. Now that's a different thing. But if we're encouraged to just, whatever you do is right, if that's the place to start, then we've got no fear around it. Now I've done community theatre, I've done stage all my life. So there is definitely a place for learning performative public speaking and for learning storytelling and story showing, but they don't come till last. They're not at the beginning. If you learn those at the beginning, oh my God, you might never speak in front of an audience again because it's so overwhelming. We get overwhelming just with a list of things to do in a day, let alone there's so much to learn as a public speaker. If you had all that dumped on you in the beginning, you've got fear of public speaking. If not, at least your nervousness doesn't go away. You're stuck with it. And that's what I get. I get women coming to me who are like, I don't get it. I've been speaking for years and I'm ridiculously nervous and I feel like I have to cover up. I have to act fake. I have to fake being confident. So children, we look at children, we know that to be true. Think about a time in your own life where you didn't have that in your way, where you could just perform ABBA performances in front of families and friends, my experience, or where you'd put a play on, like campfire plays. That was just fun. And all we want to do as adults is come up with an idea and have that idea evolve, manifest. So public speaking is just that. We have an idea, we have a big idea, and we want to see it come to life. Public speaking should naturally be exciting for us. We should love the idea of getting up in front of other people and going, hey, would you like to hear my idea? Like, hey, would you like to see my toy? It's no different. So why do we have this problem? Why have we had it for centuries? And I'm honestly radically going to say that it's because of the training that we're getting. And without it, and Rose, when I first started She Talks, I did it as a test pilot for a year. I'm a real research person and I want all the facts, I want the data, I want the proof. So I did a research. I ran She Talks as a free day workshop in public speaking where I tried out different strategies and tools. At the foundation was, the only rules are practice being authentic and notice when you gesture and what your gestures are. And then that's when I discovered, oh my God, this really is true. Like I knew it was true for me, but I didn't know that it was going to be true for every single individual. And I was literally through these workshops, women were saying, this is weird. I've been trying to get rid of fear of speaking for either weeks, years, or decades. And here I am in a one-day workshop. And I was getting, even after 2 hours, women were like, I don't feel fearful at all, ever again. And I've checked in with those women because, you know, I love research, and they still are not afraid of public speaking. They know themselves as confident because they have the permission. They have the permission to be themselves. They have an understanding that there's not this generic one way, that they're trying to squish themselves into the mold and they don't quite fit, and it's so uncomfortable trying to be someone else. It's so uncomfortable.
It is absolutely.
Yeah, trying to gesture in the way that someone told you, and you're trying to remember. How can you get into flow and access your higher consciousness, your wisdom, while you're down here in the lower centers trying to do all this physical stuff that someone else told you need to do in order to be successful? It's crazy.
Or sexy.
Or sexy. You look more sexy if you just be authentic. Well, there's that too, because you're not meant to look sexy or pretty, or you're meant to look professional. And when we get all of that out of the way, because seriously, those things come up for people too. You know, the whole, well, what does it look like to be a speaker? What's the answer? Listeners, what's the answer? What does it mean to be, what does it look like to be a speaker? Well, the answer is it looks like you. As you. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you. I mean, I did a 3-day boot camp on the weekend just gone, and as much as I love the people that, you know, run the boot camp, I just get tongue-tied and I can't remember stuff, and, you know, because I have to remember all these other things as well, and I'm only, you know, I can do it on camera, like if I have someone to talk to, but if I have to speak to camera and there's no one on the other side of the camera, then I get like, you know, I just don't like doing it.
But that's normal.
You're right. It's because we're taught to be something that we're not, and, you know, and we feel that we're being judged, and we aren't. In most cases.
Wait a minute. We are, but not in the way that we think. We're always being judged. Humans are judgmental. It's part of our survival. It's normal. Okay. Yep. I'm going to put that right out there. Everyone is judging. Put yourself in your own shoes and think about when you're in an audience. Okay, if you want to call it assessing, but it is still judging. We're assessing everything. Where does that fit in? Are you like me? Are you in my world? Are you in your own world? Like, we are doing this all the time. Are you friend? Are you foe? The way that you dress. Are you from this demographic? Are you from that? Like, these are just naturally things we do. Oh, I wouldn't have put those things together as an outfit. Or, oh, you're wearing your hair down as a professional speaker. Shouldn't you be wearing your hair up? Like, whatever we're doing, it comes through our beliefs, and we're assessing all the time. However, people just aren't wanting to boo us off the stage. That is a fact. People actually are wanting us to be good, and that's actually what we're afraid of. We know that they want us to be good, and if we don't live up to that expectation, now that's a problem for us. And it's not about belonging either, because we all belong somewhere and we have a tribe. It's not like we're trying to belong everywhere, because we actually don't want to belong everywhere. What it is we have this big idea. As I said before, we have these ideas that we want to bring to life, share them, and we also want to know that that's a great idea because we think it is, and that's what we're worried about, not the belonging. You know, it's the wanting to be accepted for our idea, at least have people interested, or at least have people say, I don't get it, but I really liked it, or I don't think that way, but I'm glad that you do. We want some kind of positive response back, and that's what we're totally concerned about. But to be honest, if you take it another step further, when you're really comfortable in your own skin, maybe we need to apply this to other areas of life when thinking about this. But when you know you're right, even if people say otherwise. And have you had that?
Yes.
So it happens from the stage too. When I know my idea is good, like right now, I could have people on the other side of the screen going, are you crazy? You don't know what you're talking about. That'll never work. I could have that. But the thing is, I am 100% sure of what I'm talking about. And I don't mind what judgment is coming on the other side of the screen. So there's this inbuilt natural confidence there because I trust myself. I know what I'm talking about. When we come from authenticity and practice trusting our inner wisdom, our inner truth, then we will speak it no matter anywhere, with anyone, at any time, and not fear the judgment, not fear people saying, don't know what, I don't like it, you know. It's so empowering, and it's truly the only way to approach this whole topic about speaking in public or even social anxiety. It's the only solution is to practice just being ourselves, and to practice, what do you have to do? Start before you're completely ready. To begin. It's the only way to get anywhere. Yeah.
You're right. You're very right. Yes. And you're believing in yourself. I think it's the self-confidence. It's not the confident. It's self-confidence, self-belief.
And not external validation. Yeah, you don't need external validation when you really do trust in yourself. And you will have those. And I mean, the other thing is when you're a thought leader anyway, so if you're worried about either having an opinion that's not going to be agreed with, or you worry about being too opinionated, all of that, just re-identify yourself as a thought leader and know that a thought leader will reach a smaller percentage than the person who's giving a more generic, nice talk. When you're a transformational speaker, you've got to get out on the ledge and you've got to speak up and you've got to say those things that are right there for you and dare to break the norms, dare to rock the boat. You know, I mean, when I first started out, I didn't dare speak my opinions. I just did them inside the workshop and I tested these theories that have come up through my entire talk now. And then I remember getting some rebuttal from, I actually got phone calls from 2 of the big speaking organizations. First thing they did was to tell me that I can't go around saying those things, that confidence is inbuilt, and I can't, say that confidence is personal, and I can't say that the audience is judging us, because then what they're saying doesn't have credibility. And I didn't go into the conversation with them, but then the next call I got was to ask me to come and do their training for free. So yeah, right? I'm like, no, I said to them, look, that's great, continue to do what you're doing if that's what you want to do, but I stand by what I'm saying. I stand by it. And I'm happy to be a small fish in the pond. I don't need to come and do their training and affiliate with them and be under their umbrella, because what I'm doing is what I'm doing. What I'm doing is heartfelt and purposeful. It matters to me so deeply, because I was that awkward speaker. I knew myself as, I was convinced that I would never get rid of my fear. And I was convinced that I was the most awkward person in the room, any room, even when I was alone. And I was convinced that I was the most awkward speaker, but something in me kept pulling me forward to do it, to conquer it. I wanted to know myself as someone who could do it, not that awkward, quirky little bird. And now that I know what I know, I want to share it with everyone. But however, I only work with women, but I want to share it with every woman, because there's something we know about women, is that women's empowerment is still necessary, because we still have these inbuilt narratives that have been passed down generation to generation. We still have these inbuilt narratives out there in the world, the soup of information. And then we have this family, I've forgotten what you call it, but when you pass down these traits, so we have these family traits of anxiety that are passed down through women, being nervous, shy, reserved, anxious, not wanting to be too opinionated, wanting to get along with the status quo. So we have these within us, and when we start looking and see them. And that's the whole getting face to face with it. When we actually see it, and I know I'm going over time now, but when we get face to face with what those narratives are that are running the show, well, then they kind of, we get to see them everywhere. It's like, oh, I've identified that I think I shouldn't be opinionated. See, this is mine, was mine. Oh, I shouldn't be opinionated. You know, people don't want me to speak up. It's people roll their eyes and, you know, talk over the top of me. They're not interested. I should just be more pleasant and nice. But then when you identify it, it's like, oh, there I go again. There I go again. It comes up. And you get to start disappearing it. You get to start like moving it out of your space. Just clear it out of your space. I was driving today and on the road it said clear the space. And I thought, yeah, absolutely. Always clear the space. Just get that rubbish.
I used to be very opinionated, and then I got told at work that I wasn't feminine enough, and that really stuck with me.
Yeah, that was a concern for me too. Why do you act so blokey? I'm like, I'm not acting blokey. I'm just being me. Yeah, well, it's a bit pushy and aggressive. And I was like,
yeah, that's what
how? And yet friends, albeit female friends, would say, oh no, you are so feminine and you are not pushy. Don't know where they got off saying that. And then I go back to the other people and they'd be like, no, you're really aggressive. I go, I'm so confused.
No, it was men told me that I wasn't feminine enough, and the women just didn't like me because I was too blokey.
Yeah, look, and I get that, because there's something about being opinionated kind of is masculine in a sense, because that's the understanding in the world that when you're outspoken, it's masculine. And when you go with the status quo, you know, when you're a good girl and you're nice and you go along with everything and you create harmony, that's feminine. But I want to just throw that preconceived notion out in the bin as well. That's bullshit. It's bullshit, and it doesn't serve us. There's so much that we just need to throw by the wayside. Yeah, get rid of. Yeah.
Claire, it's been a pleasure as always to be in your proximity. I love speaking with you.
Thank you. So this is how you become a fearless speaker. Fearless speaker and a fearless leader wherever you are. And I urge anyone on this call who looks at themselves and says my leadership could be more, take on everything that I've just said today and become that fearless leader, and you will tap into a whole realm of wisdom that you didn't know you possessed. You will tap into a whole realm of confidence you didn't know was there for you to access, and it's there all the time. So I'm wishing you all to be beautifully, personally confident, whatever that means to you, and just trust when you want to speak up. Speak up. And if someone pushes back, just be in here and go, oh, I can feel myself wanting to shrink. I can feel myself wanting to dim my light, and don't. And you'll know yourself as someone who can face everything and risk. So go speak powerfully. Go speak and empower.
People find you, Fear, if they want to work with you, take one of your courses, or just to hear you speak.
Yeah, I'm on Eventbrite. I am at my website, www.shetalks.com.au, everywhere on social media. I've just published my second co-authored book, so that will be on Amazon and other places and in local libraries. So yeah, look, if you're not sure if I can assist you or do something for you, just get in contact and we'll have a conversation and we'll have a discovery call and find out. I only take people that I know need what I've got and are ready to that are driven to take those steps. So Rose, I've loved being here. You look beautiful.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, I love your new haircut.
I will talk to you very soon. I'm going to get you back on the podcast, because I think what you shared today was perfect.
Yeah, great. All right. Speak soon. Bye, everyone. Go be powerful. Be fearless leaders. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Fer.